The New York Islanders' surprising start to the season has raised a lot of questions about the direction of the team come the trade deadline. We'll talk about the options and how it'll impact the team next on today's Locked On Islanders podcast.
Your Locked On Islanders, your daily podcast on the New York Islanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to the Thursday edition of the Locked On Islanders podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts so you never miss an episode. And thank you for helping to make Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. I'm Gil Martin. I've been covering the New York Islanders for almost 2 decades, and I wrote the book Ice Wars on the history of the Islanders' rivalry with the Rangers from 1972 to the modern era. So glad you could join us today to talk a little Islanders hockey, and we have got a lot to get to on today's show. The Islanders, surprising with their fast start this season, how improved the team is. But what is that going to mean at the trade deadline? How should Matthew Darche handle it? We'll break down some of the possibilities and what impact they would have on the team. Plus, we'll dip into the mailbag and answer your mailbag questions. And we have a full preview of tonight's game against the Anaheim Ducks. Let's start with where we're at with this team right now. To everybody's surprise, the New York Islanders find themselves at 17-11-3, 37 points in 31 games. That puts the Islanders 2 points out of first place in the Metropolitan Division, but it also puts them 5 points out of last place in the Metropolitan Division. Right now, you win 2 games, 3 games in a row, and you're in the top 3. And you lose 2 games or 3 games in a row, you're either in a wild card or out of the playoffs entirely. Now, obviously, there's still 51 games left on the schedule. We are in now mid-December, now that it is December 11th. But at this point, the Islanders are competing for the playoffs. And if they're still there come the Olympic break, does Matthew Darche try to add and be a buyer at the trade deadline? Or does he continue with the plan that most people thought he would be on this year, which is you sell at the trade deadline, add more picks, more prospects, more younger NHL-ready players like a Cal Ritchie, and make it so that this team is building that perennial cup contender that Matthew Darche talked about during his opening press conference. And I brought this up because basically Dan Rosen of NHL.com did a mailbag. And he answered the question that he thought that the Islanders really, if they stay in the mix, they could be very active in trying to help replace Kyle Palmieri and Alexander Romanov, both of whom are out for the rest of the season, and actually went as far as to say that the Islanders, quote, could be among the most active teams approaching the 2026 NHL trade deadline on March 6th. I have no problem, in theory, with being buyers at the trade deadline if this team is smart about it. And when I say smart about it, To me, anything that this team does this season is a bonus. And to me, the goal of building that long-term Stanley Cup contender, not just a team that is going to squeak into the playoffs and then hope to go on a run, but a team that, as everydayers will remember, I mentioned even yesterday, or the day before, when I was previewing Vegas, and I said Vegas is like the thing the Islanders want to be, where for 5 years or more in a row, when you're listing teams that have a realistic chance of winning a Stanley Cup, you are mentioning the New York Islanders in that list of 5, 6, 7 teams. If the Islanders are going to be buyers at the deadline, number one, I don't want to touch either of their first-round picks. I still would rather add another first-round pick, ideally. But if you are going to add, I want it to still be players under 27 years old, preferably even under 25, maybe a Cal Ritchie type who is either played a handful of games in the NHL or 1 season or 2 in the NHL and is ready to make that breakout and really contribute. I don't want this team to add another 33, 34, 35-year-old player to the roster and trade away high draft picks, younger players. I don't want to see an Eklund or an Aitchison or a Cal Ritchie traded in order to bring in another player similar in age and even skill set to Kyle Palmieri. To me, the long-term goal is more important than the short-term goal, because overall, this team's best hockey should be ahead of it. Matthew Schaefer, as incredible as he has been through the first 31 games of this season, as incredible as he's been, he's going to get better. Logic says, as he gains experience, as he physically matures, as he gets more comfortable playing in the NHL, as he's no longer a boy playing against men, so to speak, he could get better. We don't know how good Cal Ritchie can be, how good Kashawn Aitchison or Eklund can be. Cole Iserman, how good is he going to be? But these are all players with a lot of potential. I don't want to go back to being the team that this Islanders became the last few years under Lou Lamoriello, where they had one of the oldest rosters in the league, a lot of guys with bad contracts or questionable contracts and or partial or full no trade clauses, and where you feel like this team is stuck back in the muddy middle. Keep in mind, during the entirety of Lou Lamoriello's tenure, and it was a successful tenure, especially the first 4 years. But keep in mind that even when they went to back-to-back conference finals, the Islanders were just a team that barely made the playoffs. They got hot at the right time. They went on large runs. One was the bubble year. One was the COVID-shortened season. But they were never an elite team by record over the course of an entire season under Lou Lamoriello. I want them to get there. And any move that Matthew Darche can make at the deadline that makes that less likely, I'm against. Any move they make that makes it more likely, I'm fine with. I do not want to sacrifice the future to try to either squeak into the playoffs or, maybe win one round as opposed to no rounds. I want this team built for excellence for the future. And, the big question that comes up, J.G. Pageau on an expiring contract. Anders Lee on an expiring contract. Both guys on the wrong side of 30. To me, I would move to trade those two players more than I would be eager to keep them. They've both been excellent Islanders. I really like both of them. I think they're players who have made a big impact on this team during their time here. And especially with Anders Lee, both on and off the ice. But unless they're willing to stay for a 1-year deal, or in Pageau's case, maybe a 2-year deal at $5 million or less per year, I want to see more of the younger players, because to me, in 3 years, 2, 3, 4 years down the road, this team has a chance to be something special if Matthew Darche plays his cards right, makes a few good moves, and gets a lot accomplished. And keep in mind, right now, even with Kyle Palmieri out for the season and Jonathan Drouin out for a little while longer, hopefully he'll be back very soon, this team has a surplus of forwards, and that's with Pierre Engvall also out for the season. This team has 2 or 3 forwards that I think they could trade away without hurting the core of the team, and maybe get some assets for. Maybe I am willing to trade away one of those surplus forwards. Let's even use as an example Maxim Tsyplakov. I am willing to trade away Zippy, who I still think could be a good player in this league, but overall may not be a good fit for Patrick Roy's system. I could see trading him to try to add a useful, even veteran player. Like, I would trade Tsyplakov for a rental or, somebody who would help short term. But I don't want to start trading away those big prospects and those first-round picks unless I'm getting somebody younger. So we'll see what Matthew Darche does. Ultimately, we're a long ways away from the trade deadline. A lot of hockey to be played, and how the Islanders do between now and then will determine what the move is. We have got a lot more to discuss on today's show. We've got your mailbag questions, so we'll get to those. We'll preview tonight's game against the Ducks, and for our Islanders' birthday of the day, a player whose son later played for the Islanders, who was a big part of the team's transition to contender in the mid to late 70s. Let's see if you can guess who this is. We've got that and more next on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. NFL Sundays move fast. One big play and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you could place bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift, a receiver gets hot, the defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment. Live spreads and money lines adjust instantly. Player props update as guys heat up. You can bet next touchdown scorer, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, and every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. Thank you for making Locked On Islanders your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. You already love your team every day. Now take it up a level and go ad-free. Join the Everydayer Club and get Locked On Islanders with no interruptions, members-only Discord access, and more, all for just $5 a month or $50 a year. All you got to do is basically go to LockedOnPodcast.com/everydayer. Let's go to the mailbag. We've got lots of questions here today, and thank you all for sending them in. We're going to start with Frank from Massapequa. He says, is it me, or does it look like Anders Lee can actually skate fast now the older he gets? Frank, look, Anders Lee last offseason, not this year, but the summer of 2024, did do some extra work to try to improve his skating, and it definitely paid off. We saw the season that he had with 29 goals, and it certainly did help him to reach that milestone and improve his overall performance. That being said, however, he is not going to make anybody think that he is in Matthew Schaefer or Matthew Barzal's league when it comes to skating. So is he a better skater now than he was 3 years ago? Probably. But his lack of speed is still an issue, even if it's not anywhere near as big an issue as it was a year ago. And, for whatever reason, there are issues with him keeping up with some of the teammates that he has, and that's not his game. So is his skating better? Yes. Is his skating what I would call good? Speed-wise, he's a strong skater. But no, I don't think we're there yet, and he probably never will be there. So thank you for the question, and I think his skating is improved, but it still needs some work overall. I would say he's still a below average skater as far as speed goes, but 2 years ago, he was probably very, very slow by NHL standards. Next one is from Christopher in the Bronx. Hi, Gil. I have a question. Do you think the Islanders should trade Anders Lee at the deadline? I honestly and strongly believe Bo Horvat should be the captain. He knows how to build chemistry, shows strong leadership, and has scored the most points on the entire team. Thoughts? Christopher, thank you, first of all, for the question. I think this is one of those questions that, as I said in the first segment, it will depend on where the team is. I do prefer, as much as I am a huge fan of Anders Lee, that they do trade him. Already this season, he has only 6 goals and 16 points in 31 games. That's about a 43, 44-point pace. And that, in and of itself, is just not great. I think his value at the trade deadline this year will be higher than it will be in the future. I think at his age, he'll be 36 next year. He is not going to suddenly get better. He will only continue to slow down. And as much as I think he's a great leader, as much as I appreciate everything he's done for this team, I think it is time to move on from him, unless he's willing to sign that 1 year, $4.5 million a year deal. And even then, he may be taking a lineup spot away from a younger player who may be ready to step into the lineup. So as of right now, my answer would be, yeah, I think they should. Will they? I think that is going to depend largely on where they're at in the standings when we get closer to the Olympic break and then the trade deadline. But thank you again for that question. And after Christopher, We have a question from Thomas in Queens. He asks, who do you see coming out of the lineup when Drouin returns from his injury? That's a good question. And I don't know off the top of my head. There are a number of candidates that you could go with when you look at the forward group. Tsyplakov came out already. To me, it would probably be Kyle McLean, although he has been playing better since Mark Gatcomb returned to the lineup. But that would be my next choice. I could see some people arguing for Anthony Duclair. I could see some people saying Simon Holmstrom, although I don't think that is the way to go. I still would like to see whether it's Tsyplakov or, one of the McLean or one of the other players who is not going to be in, a big part of the team at the top of the lineup. I wouldn't mind seeing them trade one or two of those guys. And if they can get a right shot defenseman, even better. But, we'll see. And the other thing, of course, Thomas, is that at any given moment, injuries could solve, and I'll put that in air quotes, that problem. If somebody gets hurt and they're out of the lineup, they're the next guy who comes out. Hopefully that won't be the cause, but it is always a possibility. All right, more to get to on today's show. Big game tonight against the Anaheim Ducks. We talked about how close the standings are, so no margin for error. We've got a preview of that game, plus our Islanders' birthday of the day coming up on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch. The holidays are amazing, but they can also get overwhelming fast. Travel, gifts, parties, year-end expenses. It's really easy to lose track of your money this time of year. That's exactly why Monarch has become such a game changer for me. If you want to keep your finances under control this holiday season, you need to be using Monarch. Rated Wall Street Journal's best budgeting app of 2025, Monarch is the all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, simple dashboard. The holiday spending category can become a lifesaver. You could see exactly what's left in your gift and travel budget in real time. Monarch makes money check-in simple, just a minute or two each week, and you're completely up to speed. And it's great for couples, shared dashboards, shared goals, and fewer wait. How much did we spend conversations? So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarch.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarch.com with code LOCKEDONNHL. Islanders and Ducks tonight at home on Long Island for the New York Islanders, and the Anaheim Ducks are not an easy opponent. Yeah, in recent years they have struggled, but last year they improved, and now they are 19-10-1, and entering Wednesday's schedule, they were in first place in the Pacific Division. They're getting it done with offense. They are second in the league in goals scored, 23rd in goals against. Special teams, not great, 20th on the power play, 18.6% success, 27th on the PK, 75.5%. Would be great to see the New York Islanders get their power play going, and this is an opportunity against a team that has struggled on the PK. Lucas Dostal has started 17 games so far for the Ducks. He's 11-5-1, a 2.81 goals against, and a 9.04 save percentage. But boy, they've got four guys who can put pucks in the net. Leo Carlsson, 16 goals, 38 points. Cutter Gauthier, 16 goals, 34 points. Troy Terry has 31 points. And Chris Kreider, the former Ranger, 13 goals and 21 points. Bennett Seneke has 26 points and 10 goals. So lots of offensive talent right now on this team, and we will see how that goes against an Islanders team that obviously has work to do to shut down the Ducks. We take a look at the line combinations for the Anaheim Ducks, and there are some very, very dangerous players here. Leo Carlsson, Chris Kreider, and Troy Terry, a very dangerous top line. Mason McTavish, Cutter Gauthier, and Bennett Seneke are the second line. From left to right on the third line, Frank Vetrano, former Islander Ryan Strome, and Alex Killorn. And then Ryan Poling centers the fourth line behind Ross the Boss, Ross Johnston, and Mikael Granlund. On the blue line, Jackson Lacombe and Jacob Trouba are the top pair. Olin Zellweger and Radko Gudas are the middle pair, and then Pavel Mintyukov and Drew Hellison are the third duo. The goalies, Ville Husso and Vyacheslav Buyetis, Lucas Dostal and Peter Mrazek, both out right now. Dostal is out. Mrazek is on IR. So we'll see who ends up getting the start. Probably Ville Husso, but we'll see if it changes based on health. Again, the speed, the youth, this is going to be an entertaining hockey game between two fast skating teams. And that should be just great to watch over the course of this night. So just enjoy the game, and hopefully the Islanders can do enough to slow down the Anaheim Ducks. And whether it's Ilya Sorokin again or whether it's time for Dave Riddick, this will be a challenge for the Islanders defense. Time now for our Islanders birthday of the day. Today would have been the 84th birthday of former Islanders winger J.P. Parise, the native of Smooth Rock Falls, Ontario, 5'9", 180 pounds, made his NHL debut with the Boston Bruins in 1965-66. So he did play some games in the original six, briefly played one game for the Maple Leafs, and then became a Minnesota North Star in 1967-68, was dealt to the Islanders in February of 1975, along with Jude Drouin, in two separate deals that took place just a couple of days apart. And boy, was he a big part of the Islanders' success. In 74-75, he had 30 points in 41 games with the Islanders, and then in the playoffs, 8 goals and 16 points in 17 playoff games. He had back-to-back 20-goal seasons with the Islanders, was later traded to the Cleveland Barons midway through the 77-78 season, finished his NHL career with 890 games, 238 goals, 594 points, 706 penalty minutes, add 27 goals, 58 points in 86 playoff games. And his son, obviously, Zach Parise, finished his NHL career almost with the New York Islanders. J.P. Parise's best game as an Islander, November 4th, 1975, Islanders hosting the California Golden Seals at the Nassau Coliseum. The goalies, Gil Martin for the Seals, Chico Resch for the Islanders. And after the Seals took a 1-0 lead on a goal by Gary Sabourin, on the power play, J.P. Parise strikes Mike Christie in the box for hooking. Parise scores his third of the year from Jean Potvin and Dennis Potvin. That tied the game at 1. And then 4 minutes and 2 seconds later, with Ralph Klassen in the box for holding, Parise scores another power play goal. Jean Potvin and Ed Westfall with the assist. That made it 2-1 Islanders after 1. Parise sets up Dennis Potvin in the second period to make it 4-1 Islanders. And then he completes the hat trick midway through the second. Jude Drouin and Ed Westfall with the assists. J.P. Parise finishes this game with 3 goals, 1 assist. He was a +2. He had 7 shots on goal to lead the Islanders. And Chico Resch making 21 saves as the Islanders beat the Seals by a score of 5-3. J.P. Parise, who made huge contributions to the Islanders in their transition from a expansion team to a contending team. He is our Islanders birthday of the day. Did Locked On make your Spotify Wrapped? Prove it on social media to secure a free month of our brand new Everydayers Club. Just tag our national Locked On Podcast Network account on any social platform, and we'll drop you a code. Be one of the first to join the Everydayer Club to get your favorite show ad-free and exclusive access to the members-only Discord channel. For those of you on video, we will send you now to the first ever 24/7 national Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. On audio, make sure your second listen is NHL Game Night, which is on the Locked On NHL channel. So check out the Everydayer Club. Those of you on YouTube can see the link on video. It's lockedonpodcast.com/everydayer. If you have a question, a comment, maybe a topic you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, email us at lockedonislanders@gmail.com. If you leave your first name and where you're from, we're happy to mention you on the show when we discuss whatever's on your mind. You could follow the show on X at Locked On Isles. You could follow me, Gil Martin, on X at Ice Wars, NYRVSNYI. We'll keep you up to date on all things Islanders all year long, and I am live tweeting during nearly every Islanders home and road game, so join me for a little instant insight and analysis. And it's great to talk Islanders hockey with you, game time or anytime. Everydayers, we are back tomorrow. We will have our key takeaways from this game against the Anaheim Ducks, and we will preview Saturday's game against the Tampa Bay Lightning, third matchup against the Lightning in about 12 days. So looking forward to that challenge on Saturday afternoon. We'll keep you posted on all the latest Islanders news, notes, and happenings. Until then, have a great day, everybody. Stay safe. And of course, let's go Islanders.